Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today? Welcome to my channel and welcome to vlog number, I'm not sure what it is, but welcome to a Wednesday. I'm not sure the date either. Welcome to Wednesday and welcome to my new vlog. I'm Samantha of Samantha Sutherland Art Books History here on YouTube. If I look down quite a bit, I have a script. Why did I do a script? Because I ramble and I have a lot to get through and I have a really terrible memory. If you are new here, welcome. It's lovely to meet you and I hope that you maybe might stick around for a little bit if you like what you see. Maybe like the video or even hit the subscribe button. That would be lovely. And join my little growing channel. It's growing bit by bit. Slowly, but it's growing, which I don't mind. I just don't mind. I just like making the videos so that I can share my weird random thoughts with everybody. And also, I'm a bit nervous today because today is a book review day. So I would like to start off by welcoming viewers new and old. And also, if you need to, I would get a cup of tea or your favourite beverage. Unfortunately, I'm still stuck in a fibro flare-up, so I've got my new, because the last one was pink, so I've got my new two-handled cup, so with my favourite tea in it. Yeah, so if you're new here, I have no idea what I'm doing. If you've been here a while, you know I've no idea what I'm doing. So yes, so I would like to start off with a quote. Tea can do many things, Jane, but it can't bring back the dead. That is a quote from one of my all-time favourite films, which usually I watch during autumn time or whenever I feel like it because I love it. It's the British comedy Death at a Funeral, which came out in 2007. Excuse me, I've just got a bit of a rogue hair. But yeah, because I'm attempting to grow it. I don't know why, but I am. But yes, so it's from one of my all-time favourite films. It really cheers me up. It's quite funny. Yes, it's about a death at a funeral, but it's so much more than that. It's a good old British farcical comedy. So if you've never seen it, I can highly recommend it. So I'm going to start off by saying, again, welcome. And also, what have I been reading? Well, I have 3 finishes. I have 3 finishes. I never ever thought I'd hear myself say I have 3 finishes. I do not anticipate for one moment that Miss Plum has been murdered, though I should have some sympathy with her assassin if she had. That is a quote from Stanley, from my new favourite book. I absolutely adored reading this book. Thank you so much, Lil's Vintage World, for your recommendation of this book. I was watching one of her videos probably within the last year, and she reviewed a couple of Dean Street Press books, and this was one of them. And it's about a middle-aged woman. She's just hit 40. If you're wondering what's flashing, that's my daughter's duck lamp. I'm charging it. It's one of those USB chargeable ones, so it is charging. Apparently it's finished. Yeah, so it's about Miss Penny. She's just turned 40 and she lives in this lovely little Yorkshire village, and she's very happy and she's very contented and she's got some lovely friends and she's well liked in the community. She is the head of Scouts and she's just living her best life. And one day she goes to a park and she witnesses Miss Penny. No, Miss Penny, sorry, witnesses Miss Plum. Miss Plum's decided that she's going to commit suicide by walking into the duck pond. It's not a secret. It's not some big thing. It's not a big spoiler. It's at the very beginning of the book. So that's what starts the whole catalyst of she takes her home. She doesn't want her to be admitted to hospital because she doesn't think she's mad. I think she's a pain in the backside. Basically, it's about a woman who outstays her welcome very quickly within a community, a very small community. She's rude to people. She doesn't let people help her when she really should. She can't cook. She can't clean. She cries at the drop of a hat. And poor Miss Penny has to deal with Miss Plum crying every few minutes, her old boyfriend coming back wanting to whisk her away, Stanley, who is one of her friends who's a bachelor, who seems to care for Miss Penny, although at one point I think he decides he might marry Miss Plum, but then obviously from the quote I think he realised he doesn't really like her that much. And then there's Hubert, who is the vicar of the village. He's a widow and he's fond of Miss Penny, and it's all about the life there and basically day-to-day life, getting through Christmas, because it's kind of set just before and during winter and Christmas. And then there is a twist at the end, and this book had me laughing out loud. It had me giggling. I absolutely enjoyed this book so very much. I'm so happy I read it. The first copy I had, unfortunately, an accident happened and it got ruined, and I can't remember how. And unfortunately, I had to get a second copy. This one is off Amazon. World of Books sell the books, so did Amazon and a few other places. But this particular copy, this came from World of Books, actually. Yeah, it came from World of Books. But I absolutely had so much fun reading this. I really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5. Definitely a 5-star book for me. Will I read it again? I definitely will. In fact, as soon as I finished it, I said I'm reading this book again at some point. I really, really enjoyed it, and it's definitely a book if you like plod along village life and that sort of, and it's set in the 1950s, so it's kind of a very nostalgic look back at life and how much simpler it was and quieter it was. Miss Penny literally has just got central heating, I think, and central lighting. She's been living in the house. It was her parents. I think she might have been born there. So you can kind of figure the kind of houses they were back then. But yes, and I absolutely also, what sold me on it, weirdly, and you shouldn't always do this, I'll tell you why on the next book, but it was the artwork. From what Lil's Vintage World said, I think she said that the book covers are based on the original artwork of the original books that were published by Dean Street. This I can highly recommend. Definitely grab yourself a copy if you can. Then the book, yeah, I bought this off Amazon. I really should learn to read Amazon descriptions a little bit better. Excuse me a minute. Oh, the heating's coming on. I really should learn to read descriptions. Amazon printed this copy. I got this for I bought this. This is a Midsummer Night's Dream. I was watching Emmie's YouTube channel. That's Emma. Her name's actually Emma, but her YouTube channel's Emmie. And she was doing her degree at the time. I think she's finished it now. And she was talking about Shakespeare as part of her her degree. And I suddenly thought, I know my favourite play by William Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. I've seen this live. I saw it at the theatre in Manchester. I forgot the name of the theatre actually. It's on Oxford Street, the big one, before you get to St. Peter's Square. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I keep saying thoroughly a lot, sorry, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with the play. I've seen the Kenneth Branagh version. I've seen maybe one of the other films. I've even seen the CBeebies version, I think. Did they do one? No, they did Romeo and Juliet. Maybe they did this too. I don't know. But I love this one. And it's short. It's 73 pages. I got through it in like 3 days. Now, Lil's Vintage World with this book was right. It was a very easy read. It was very quick to read. It all flowed so beautifully. It made it such an easy and fun read. Now, I'm dyslexic, but this took me maybe less than a week to get through. This took about 3 days because it's so thin. My other problem with this is I bought this because I was in love with the image on the front. As you can see, it's printed on absolutely rubbish cardstock, and it kept bending back and I kept having to keep it flat, and it was so annoying. It was really annoying, but I still enjoyed the play. And that's another 5-star. I can, if you like Shakespeare, even if you're not sure about Shakespeare, I love this because I love the fairies in it, and I love Puck, and Titania is so interesting, and the whole dynamic between the group of young people who disappear into the woods and why they all end up there. And yeah, I love this one so very much. So this is my all-time favorite Shakespeare ever. And hope one day my little one, she might read it when she gets a bit older, when she appreciates Shakespeare a little bit more. One can hope. And another one that took me a couple of weeks to get through, mainly because I was distracted, and also there were at points I didn't quite enjoy the book as much as I was hoping I would. Now, I've seen the original film, the 1950s one, I think it is, with Basil Rathbone. Turns out the film's literally the book. And I was remembering the film whilst I was reading the book, which doesn't help because it kind of, there was the very beginning's a little bit boring. Because they're talking about his boots that keep getting stolen from the hotel, Sir Henry Baskerville, how he's not wanted there, and he's talking to Watson and Holmes, and following some person around in one of the carriages because he's spying on Sir Henry and things. And then they get to Baskerville Hall. That's when it all kind of really happens. There's an escaped prisoner, there's a hound, there's weird neighbours, there's a very odd one who likes to sue people because he can, and he likes to be right all the time. As a book, I would give this 3.5, maybe 4 stars. I did enjoy it. There were some really good heart kind of pounding, page turning moments. Did I enjoy it as much as I was hoping to? Probably not. Like I said, I got a little bit bored at the very beginning. It was a bit slow, but once it got going, it really got going. The description of the moors, the description of the hound. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you've seen the hound in the actual film. You have to imagine it in the book, which I could imagine it as sort of like a really gnarling kind of, I don't know. I always don't know why I always think of Irish wolfhounds. I've got an obsession with Irish wolfhounds. I don't know why. But I did enjoy the second half of the book from when he got to Baskerville Hall. I enjoyed the description of the train ride there, the moors. It was very descriptive, but I kind of liked it. I'll probably read it again, mainly because A, I'll forget I've read the book, which is useful, and then B, I'll reread it again because I need to not think of the film whilst I'm reading it. The reason I think I fell in love with Miss Plum and Miss Penny is it's set in Yorkshire, and I absolutely love Yorkshire. It's one of my all-time favourite places to visit, to go on holiday to. I've been many times. In fact, my very first holiday before I got married, when my husband was just my boyfriend, was to Whitby in Yorkshire. Our honeymoon, our mini moon, was in Whitby in Yorkshire. So yes, I think you can see the theme of Yorkshire there, and anything to do with moors and nature I love. So I did really enjoy the Hand of the Baskervilles for that. The description of the moors themselves, oh, it was beautiful. It really was. I did enjoy it, just not as much as I was hoping to. So yes, I 3 pretty good books, and 3 books I've actually finished, which allowed me to start reading this. Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. Now, I've got page flags, I think they're called, in it, every 20 pages. Emmie's channel, YouTube channel, Emma, mentioned how she breaks it down into like 20 pages. So she reads 20 pages a day to get through the book. And I thought that was a really good tip. And as I keep saying, I really need to, you know this, I have a bad memory. So I decided to put page flags every 20 pages. And I think it really helps me too, because it really makes me excited when I'm getting towards the end of the book, thinking I've actually managed to finish a book in maybe a week or a bit less or whatever. My daughter figured out I should have this read in 10 days, 10, 12-ish days. So we'll see. I started reading it naughtily. I started reading it whilst I was reading Hound of the Baskervilles, but I was so excited to read it that I started it when I was almost finished with Hound of the Baskervilles. Why did I get this one? This one is a Persephone Persephone Books Classics. 2 reasons. First of all, the image on the front I thought was absolutely beautiful. Being an artist and that I like art, this to me is very portraitish, and I know it's a made-up portrait of 2 women. I'm guessing one's Miss Pettigrew and one is probably the lady she's working for. Wow, does she get thrown in the deep end. Again, this was highly recommended by Lil's Vintage World and also Miranda Mills. It's her channel, Miranda Mills Bookcase. I can't quite remember, and if I've got that wrong, Miranda, I'm so sorry. I will put right my mistake. I think it is, but she's on both her and Lil's Vintage World are on Instagram, and Lil's Vintage World, like me, I didn't tell you where you can find me. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Goodreads. On Instagram, I am sjms_art.books.history. And on Facebook, I'm Samantha Sutherland Artist, and in brackets, and please don't shout at me for the grammar, because it wouldn't let me do the thingamabobs, I forgot what they're called now. Yeah, anyway, art, books, and history. It won't let me do the little commas and things, so it's not my fault. Facebook is an idiot, as we all know. But yes, and I do know that I think Miranda's on Goodreads as well. I'm not sure. I know Emma from Emmie's, the channel Emmie is as well, because I follow, pretty sure, at least those 2 on there. But yes, Miranda Mills said it was one of her favourite books, and Lil's Vintage World said it was her most favourite book, and I can see why. I'm only 20 pages in and I am in love with this book already. I fall in love with books very easily, don't I? But yes, this is a really good book. I'm 20 pages in, like I said. I'm hoping to sit down and read some more tonight. Being dyslexic, it used to take me forever to get through books, mainly because I used to, and I didn't know, I've not always known I was dyslexic. I've only known for the last 10 years or so. But I'd always reread paragraphs or pages, and it'd take me really twice as long to get through books. My dad lent me a book. It's called Dead Men Do Tell Tales. I had it for 3 years. I had it for so long. When I went to give it back, he said, because it took you so long, I gave it to you. Because I was always rereading passages because I wasn't sure if I'd read it or not. Now I use page flags, and this is where I left off yesterday. And like I said, it's all broken down into 20 pages per 20 pages. So there's 233 pages, but I've got it done at like 20 page increments, which is going to help me get through it. And I can't wait to finish reading the book. I'm enjoying it already. She really has been thrown at deep end. Basically, Miss Pettigrew is desperate for a job, and she goes to this lady's house, and she's already made breakfast, got rid of a gentleman friend of this lady, cleared up anything to say he was there, because she has this other gentleman coming to call. And I don't know anything else about the book. I'd heard of the book, but I've never read the book. But this, yeah, it's beautiful. And Persephone Classics, that it just feels so nice, and on the inside as well, they are absolutely beautiful. And also, when I came back from physio yesterday, Persephone had sent me mail, and it is there because I bought 2 books from there. The other book I'll share in a minute. The Persephone biannually, sorry, my dyslexia is kicking in today. And with this came this beautiful bookmark, and it's think it's for the cover of one of the books they've newly published called Sophia Petrovna by Lydia Chukovskaya. I apologize if I've just massacred that name. So yeah, I quickly switched out. I had a thank you card from them from when it came with one of the books that was posted, and I was using this for Miss Pettigrew, and then I swapped it out for the new one because it's just so beautiful, so pretty. So yeah, that's what I've read and what I'm currently reading. What have I been watching? Now, when I wrote this script, I wrote this quite a while back. Oops, sorry. Because I'm sat on my bed, it's not very comfy for me, so I apologize if my camera, I'm using my phone again, so I apologize if anything moves. What have I been watching? These I watched a little while ago, but I did enjoy them a lot, and I still remember ish. You'll see when I get to the next one. But my father-in-law had been watching this because he was kind of, obviously he would have been around at the time of this particular person, and yeah, so it's called A Spy Among Friends, which is based on the name of the series is the same name as the book, written by Ben McIntyre, who I think is a journalist. It's about the British spy Kim Philby. Nicholas Elliott, an MI6 intelligence officer, learns about his close friend Kim Philby's role as a double agent for the Soviet Union. So basically, Kim Philby was he worked for MI6, and at some point he changed sides and he started spying for the Soviet Union, giving them information about Britain to the Soviet Union, and he what's the word? He ended up joining the Soviet Union. I think there's a word for it. I'll probably think of it in like 10 minutes. I can't think of the word, but he ended up working for them and joining them. I think it was 1986 maybe. I think in Russia, I think it was, he died. But he yeah, it was very interesting. It was beautifully filmed. It was like watching something from that specific era. It was absolutely wonderful. The aesthetic was brilliant. The costumes were fantastic. Usually things that are kind of based in like the 1930s to 1950s, 1960s sort of era, they kind of throw suits that look like, and you can kind of think, well, does it look like the era? But in A Spy Among Friends, I actually really believed they had filmed it definitely in that era. It was so wonderfully acted, and it had a great cast in it. Damian Lewis and Guy Pearce were in it. And there was a lot of other big names. Ade Edmondson was in it. You would never recognise him. Completely different to anything he's been in previously. I was watching it thinking, I know that person. It took me ages to realise it was Ade Edmondson, who you would know for comedy series and comedy films. But he was serious in this. In fact, he was possibly also a double spy in MI6 with the Soviet Union. So yeah, it was really, really well acted, and I can highly recommend it. If you can find it on a streaming service, if I can find any information on it for a streaming service, and you are interested in that kind of era, I will share it. I'll share the link. And also I watched Becoming Elizabeth, which series, it was on Channel 4, and it was all about Elizabeth before she became Elizabeth I. Before she ascended to the throne, young Elizabeth Tudor was an orphaned teenager who became embroiled in the political and sexual politics of the English court. With no clear heir, the death of King Henry VIII sets into motion a scramble for power, and boy did it. As we all know in history, his son became the king, and at 15 he died. He possibly died of TB. I think it's when Mary took over. Mary didn't like Protestants because she was devoutly Catholic. I think she burnt quite a few Protestants. That's nice of her. And then Elizabeth took over when Mary died. But it was all about her kind of struggle to fit into the court. she was very naive, I think. And the way it was an 8-part series, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it's been cancelled, not to return, which is a shame, because it was fantastic. The acting in it was amazing, and oh, who is it married Catherine Parr now? Thomas, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was possibly a relationship between Elizabeth and Elizabeth's stepmother's husband, stepfather. I don't know what they even call him. Thomas. I forgot what his name is. I'm sorry. I will try and remember it and add it underneath. But if you could find that on a streaming service, please do. It was amazing. And I'd love to know what you like. Do you like historical things? Because those two are pretty historical. And then I watched Portrait Artist of the Decade, which was something a bit newer. I watched that last week. I did record it. And I do apologise if you can hear me drinking the tea. Sorry. I'm trying to be quite honest. I've been watching Portrait Artist of the Year since it began. There have been so many winners that I've liked, and there have been some that I have really not liked, I've disliked, especially the last one, no, the one before last for the landscape artist. Yeah, we don't talk about a dumpster fire. So this brought back 9 previous winners of Portrait Artists, so they could be just given a new title of Portrait Artist of the Decade. The person who won, as it's been out for like 2 weeks nearly, was the person who painted Graham, I forgot his name, the Irish comedian. Graham was in Father Ted. I forgot. It's because it's late. I'm not very good at late in the evenings. Graham Norton. I wasn't a huge fan of the artwork of Dame Judi Dench. I'd have picked one of the others, but then again, at the end of the day, I am not a judge. So I did enter Landscape Artist of the Year. But I'm glad I didn't actually enter, because I would have had to have declined, because all of the heats were in the south of England, except for maybe one. They were all down south. And having chronic illness and mobility issues and being disabled, it wouldn't have been very easy or feasible for me to have to kind of get down to wherever they were filming. Plus, it would have been kind of May, June time, so my little one, she'd still have been at school, so we would have had to take a good couple of days off, and then it would have taken me a good week or so to recover, and I wouldn't have enjoyed the experience once I was there, and it would have shown probably. And so even though I'd been wanting to enter for many years, I'm glad I didn't get picked. If there's any heats in the north for the next series, maybe I'll have a wander down, and then we can have a wander around whatever estate it is they're filming at. So 2 birds, 1 stone. I'd go as a wild card, maybe, if it was a northern one, somewhere like Cheshire, Derbyshire, somewhere around that area. Easy to get to from where I live. But to be honest, I prefer, you know, warmth, a good cup of tea, buttery toast, because I usually end up watching it whilst I'm having my supper. So yeah, I'm not too bothered I didn't get picked up. I was a bit gutted, but then I thought I'm not hugely bothered because it's all down south. So so I wasn't completely bothered. But yeah, the Portrait Artist of the Decade, I think there were two better artists, I think, that should have kind of been a kind of final thought, and maybe one of them, well, actually one of them should have been picked. And I can't remember his name, but it was an interesting look back at to see how they'd kind of changed or you know, improved their art kind of practice and stuff. Also, because spooky season is upon us, I love Halloween, I love October, even though my joints hate it. I absolutely adore autumn. I'm in autumn time all the time. If it could be autumn all the time, I'd be very happy. In fact, I'm kind of dressed as the embodiment of autumn today. I watched The Awakening, the 2011 film with Rebecca Hall and Dominic West, which a huge chunk of it was actually filmed at Lime Hall in Stockport, which is a very haunted old house apparently, and it's a beautiful old house. I haven't been since I was a baby, and I'm looking to visit there at some point with my sketchbook, maybe with my watercolor paints. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, it's a gothic supernatural film about a ghost debunker called Florence Cathcart. I think has lost his boyfriend in the First World War. So there are fresh wounds there, and it's set just after the First World War. And she's called upon by Dominic West's character to hopefully attend the boarding school he teaches at, because he's worried that the boys think that there's a ghost going around killing the children. And it's not a plot spoiler, but it says it in the blurb and it's in the trailer, that little boy dies because he sees a ghost. And all the boys think that's why he died, that the ghost did it. It's got such a twist to it. It keeps you guessing, some really good jump scares in it if you're quite a nervous watcher. If you're not a big horror fan, it's not creepy, it's not gory, it's just a really nice spooky film. So watch it during the day if that's what you prefer. I watched it one night because I was bored. I'd seen it before, and I wanted to watch it again because I wanted to especially rewatch the twist as well, and the bits I'd actually forgotten because of my stupid memory. But it was on, was it the BBC or Film 4? I can't remember. No, DVD. I have the DVD. That's why I watched it, because it was on I had it on DVD. But yeah, the DVD blurb is Florence Cathcart has devoted her career to exposing hoaxes because she's very science orientated. She visits a boarding school to investigate the sightings of a child ghost. However, the phenomenon surrounding her is beyond science. So yeah, it's also set around the time when we as a country had kind of given up on the church, and we turned to spiritualism and alternative beliefs and thoughts when it came to things to do with spirituality in the afterlife, which I found very interesting. In fact, there's a book by Waters. I forgot her name. Sarah Waters, called Affinity. It's about a woman who goes to volunteer. She's got no kind of nothing in her life. She's spoiled, she's pampered, and she comes from a wealthy family, and she decides to volunteer at women's prison and meets this prisoner who convinces her that like supernatural forces are trying to help her and things. And it does actually talk about the spirituality centre, or whatever the building was called, which was in London. And it's because after World War One, everyone had kind of lost faith. They seemed to lose faith and put all of what they had left in things like spiritualism, because they wanted to speak one last time to their loved one who died in the war. So yeah. So The Awakening, I can recommend it. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I've seen it a few times, but because I can't remember much, it's great because it's like I'm watching stuff for the first time again sometimes. So I remembered some bits, and so it wasn't as spooky to me this viewing, but the very first viewing I do remember it did not make me jump, and it did make me jump again in places because I just didn't remember. Effie Grey was another one I watched from 2014. It's about Effie Grey, the muse and artist who was Scottish, which in the film she didn't have a Scottish accent. It was lacking. Anyway, who marries John Ruskin, the author and artist, who was I can't repeat what I would like to call him. I knew I didn't like him, but I like him even less now. The film there was rumours at the time that he liked his women very young, is all I'll say. It was never actually proven as far as I know. All I know is there were rumours, there was nothing written. But Effie Grey married him, and they had a loveless marriage. She was a virgin when she married him, and she was a virgin when she got divorced from him. He never once went near her. He seemed to have fallen in love with her when she was about 10 or 12. And when they got married, she was about 15 or 16, I think. I can't remember how old she was when they got married. She was married to him for 5 years, and she ended up falling in love and marrying John Everett Millay, who's one of my favourite pre-Raphaelite artists. But she managed to do something at the time which was completely unheard of, and she managed to obtain a divorce. She divorced him and then married the artist, the pre-Raphaelite artist. They had 4 children, I think. She had a very, very happy marriage with him, with Millay. But yeah, I got really angry watching it, and I felt so bad for Effie Grey. I actually bought a book on Effie Grey the night that I'd been watching it because I wanted to learn a little bit more, because I'd heard a little bit about the whole thing, but I'd never really looked into it. And because I love art history, I thought it might be really good to add to my art history collection of books. And then within the last week and a bit, maybe 2, I watched The Golem from 2018. Now, I have seen this film before, and I'd completely forgotten everything, so it was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. I think I must have enjoyed it the first time as well. It's to do with Jewish folklore. It's basically it's set in the 17th century, 1673 to be exact, in a small village in Lithuania. A community of Jewish people are living in this remote village. That's an important word, for you'll see why in a minute. But basically, this landowner can't understand why they're not suffering from the plague. It's not touched them, it's not gone through them, none of them have had any symptoms of the plague, they are free of the plague, and he can't figure out why. Boy, he was dumb, because obviously, as the rabbi in the film points out, and it's not really a huge spoiler because it's kind of obvious, they were remote. They were away from everyone else, every other village that was affected. No one ever went through their village, so they were never affected by the plague. And he gets angry at the fact that he thinks that it's the Jewish village, the community there, that is actually spreading the plague. He doesn't understand, or doesn't want to understand. He decides that he's going to take it out on the village. However, a young woman called Hannah, well, the blurb says, a young woman must save her Jewish community when a deadly plague takes over. Desperate for protection, she conjures a dangerous entity. So obviously she conjures a golem. It's not really a secret because the film's called The Golem. But yeah, I put a woman named Hannah conjures the folklore being known as the Golem to help defend her village and those in it from the landowner and his henchmen, but all goes a little bit wrong. Yeah, if you're not a big fan of horror, this is what I would call a gateway horror. It's not overly graphic, it's not violent, it's not anything like that. It's more spooky. There is one bit that's kind of gross, but that's it. But if you want to watch something that's a bit spooky for Halloween, but you don't want to watch things like Saw 10 or anything like that, I can highly recommend The Golem. It was released in August of 2018, just before my wedding anniversary, actually. But yeah, it's one of my favourite spooky horror films, mainly especially because it's to do with Jewish folklore, because I love anything to do with folklore. I love folk horror and fairies and things like that. So yeah. I've been watching quite a lot of YouTube lately. Now, I have a list of YouTubers, and I'm also going to mention what else I've been watching, because I have been watching quite a lot, being that I haven't been able to do too much over the last few weeks because of chronic illness. Fun. But yeah, Lady of the Library. I really enjoy watching Lady of the Library. Her videos are always absolutely fantastic. They're full of information. She's a PhD student, and she's a PhD student in the classics. Oh, excuse me. So she is she's studying things like ancient Roman, ancient Greek things, and so she does lots of videos on things like Hades and Persephone, and the history of that. And she's at the moment doing the history of Halloween, which is a really good watch. Last year she did Spooky Ones, which was like the lore of mermaids, and werewolves and vampires and Pendle witches and things like that. So she's got a very interesting channel. Her name is Cynthia Dubois. She has a most amazing voice to listen to for telling these tales and things. I'm also a Patreon of hers as well, and she's absolutely lovely. Lil's Vintage World, I mentioned her at the very beginning. I've been following her for nearly 3 years now, and it's 3 years just gone. September it would have been. I just love looking at her bookshelf and listening to her reviews and things. She's got a lot of furrowed middlebrow books and Persephone Books. Love both of those books. Those publishers, Teen Street Press and Persephone, as I've just mentioned. She gives some really good recommendations. She does some very interesting visits and talks about hauls and things of books and things. She's also interested in historical places to visit and costume jewellery and things. So it's all the sort of things I really enjoy, and I always really enjoy the videos. And then there's Miranda Mills, who I've mentioned because of the Persephone books. She lives in Yorkshire somewhere. She got to go to Whitby for her birthday. I'm very jealous because I absolutely love Whitby. I think her channel name is Miranda Mills Bookcase, and if I've got that wrong, Miranda, I'm very sorry, and I'll correct myself. If I can edit the video, I'll edit it up somewhere here. If not, I'll put it underneath the video. Like I said, anything I talk about, show or anything like that, I will put information under the video. And then there is, and I'm also a member of a Bookish Almanac, which you can join through Instagram, but only through your mobile. I will put a link to it, honestly, and it's worth it because it's oh, I love it. I already get her newsletter, so I get the commonplace book idea things and things like that, but this one's got things like tea pairings with books and cake recipes and things, and books and all that sort of thing. She's just started she's just done this thing that's for free, that you can access, and it's poetry readings and things like that. It's absolutely fantastic. It's lovely, and she's done a really good job. And then there's Emma, who I've mentioned as well. I just love her book reviews and her shelf dives, and she's got a beautiful cat called Calcifer. And if you're a Studio Ghibli fan, you'll know the name. It's from Howl's Moving Castle, which this is a beautiful film, but has spooked out my daughter a little bit. Rachel Maksy as well, I've been watching, who does sewing and crafts. She makes garments. She does needle felting and room renovations and things, and she's a lot of fun. She's so funny, and I've been following her for quite a while as well. And she does kind of like historical costumes at times, or she's doing Maxoween, which is Halloween costumes and things for the whole of October. RetroClaude, I am just in love with her knitting projects and her wool stash and her sewing projects, and I wish I could sew like she can. She's very inspirational as well. She also suffers from a chronic illness, and she's just gone and got a power chair, of which I'm after one similar. But yeah, she's a lot of fun to watch. And Sandi Hester, who they all do, but Sandi Hester also always makes me smile. She's an artist. She's so very talented, and she's got some beautiful artwork, and she's got an amazing collection of art materials, which she is always very happy to go into and give recommendations and things like that. And it's not all like really expensive stuff. There's a lot of cheap stuff she uses, and she's usually correct about like using the cheap stuff. It's fantastic, and she's brilliant. I've been following her for quite a while, so I can highly recommend her. So library plans and ideas. I need bookcases. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to IKEA for them. I was thinking of getting a new desk, but I have got a desk downstairs which has been stood up against in the kitchen for like 4 years now, so I don't actually know if it's viable to use. So I might actually get it out of the box when I've done our daughter's room. We're still working on that. So when that's finished and I get into that room, I might try and put it up. I might have to keep it for a while, and build bookcases and shelves around it. I did want to get a chair for in that room for when it becomes a library, but I don't think that's going to happen. I might just have to buy a comfy chair to sit at the desk with. I'm not too sure. I have got a Pinterest board I've been working on, so you can go and have a sneak peek at that if you really want. Visitors and spelunking escapades. This is something I want to get out more, and I know it's starting to get cold and things. I don't care. I really don't care. And I'm having steroid injections in my knees in November, so I don't care. I really just want to get out. I just want to get into the outside air. I've been watching Sam Walks a lot, who I can highly recommend. She's been doing a lot of walking around Wiltshire and around Bath and places like that, and she went to Highgate Cemetery, which I'd love to visit. So yeah, she's given me some really good ideas for places to go. But I went to visit Little Moreton Hall in Congleton some weeks back in August, I think it was. July, August, maybe August. It's beautiful, but if you have mobility issues, stick to the downstairs bit. I had to go up to the upstairs because my daughter ran-ish. The stairs are very uneven. It's a slanting building. It's very old. It's a Tudor period building. It's an original Tudor building. So it's small doorways and uneven flooring and things, and there's a lot of subsidence. So if you've got mobility issues, I wouldn't recommend it. It's pretty on the outside. There's plenty to look at around the actual building. There's a lovely cafe, but I wouldn't recommend going in if you have mobility issues. I want to go back to the Walker Art Gallery because I'm in love with that place. I want to visit Lime Hall. We did try and visit a few months back, but it was too late and I was in too much pain to actually go up the hill or anything, so we just ended up getting in the car and going somewhere else. I would like to go to visit Lime Hall because also it's where they filmed Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley. I want to go to Hepsom Stall to visit the grave of Sylvia Plath. I really like Sylvia Plath's poetry. I love Ted Hughes' poetry as well. His poetry on nature they're some of my favourite poems. And I've been reading Goblin Market by Christina Rossetti as well of late. But I'd like to go just to have a look at, especially the cemetery as well, because it's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. I'm looking to go to Eyam. It's spelled E-Y-A-M, but pronounced Eyam, like E-E-M. It's a plague village in Derbyshire. It's where they were able to combat the plague. Again, they were remote, which is why they didn't have as many deaths. They had quite a few deaths. I think it's something like 200. I can't remember, but a lot of the village was saved because of them staying remote and not allowing anybody in and things like that. And I want to just get out and about in general with my sketchbook. Also, if you want a good film, a horror film-ish, and it's not really scary, it's not really gory, Black Death with Sean Bean, which is set around the plague, and I want someone to watch it because I want to hear their ideas of, does it show the makings of Matthew Hopkins? If you watch the film or you have watched the film, comments below, let me know what you think, because I think it kind of is a fictional beginning to Matthew Hopkins, and you'll see what I mean by that. Spooky season. Well, I'm going to watch Over the Garden Wall because I have to. It's beautiful. I love it. It's gorgeous. I'm obsessed with it. And also I have been watching Celina SpookyBoo, who's been telling spooky stories every Sunday. She's also got a podcast, like a book anthology on YouTube, which until November, the middle of November, is free. And I've also been watching a lot of Jon Solo, who does messed up origins of things, fairy tales and things like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and that's a film I'm going to be watching hopefully this week coming. Absolutely love that film. It's a teen film, horror film, but it's not gory. It's really spooky. It made me jump, and I really, really enjoyed it. And the monsters and the creatures, or whatever they are, translated so fantastically from the book to screen, so highly recommend that. I'm currently listening to Witchcraft of Salem by Shirley Jackson on Audible. I'm also listening to The Halloween Tree, which I'm absolutely loving. That was a darling Desi recommendation. And it's been and gone, I think. No, it's not. On the 21st of October, no, it's not because my daughter will miss the birthday party. 21st of October at 2 p.m, there is a Waterstones Meet the Authors in Altrincham, because there's a young adults spooky anthology of 13 authors who've written stories for the anthology, obviously. So yeah, there's that coming up, which I won't be able to get to, but I thought it might be worth mentioning. Also, just very quickly, for spooky season, I will be reading The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I've seen the film, hated the film. I'd read the book before I watched the film, which is probably a mistake, although even if I'd watched the film and then read the book, I still wouldn't have liked the film. The book is really spooky, and I'm going to be reading it again because I don't remember reading it in the first place. And also I'm going to read one story from this, which is Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad, because I love this M.R. James story. I've seen the BBC adaptations. The original one was better than the one that was on a few years back, but because I am reading Miss Pettigrew Lives a Day and I've got a few other things, including this, to read, I decided that I'm going to leave this mainly till Christmas, because for me, Christmas is M.R. James season. Also, I know it says September. I don't care. I'm really looking forward to reading this. This was recommended by Miranda Mills on her channel, and also there's a few other booktubers talking about it, but it keeps popping up on Miranda's channel. I decided to go ahead and buy it, which is called The Fortnight in September by R.C. Sheriff, and I can't wait to read this. So I'll be reading this as well as Miss Pettigrew, obviously, and also The Little Boy Lost, and I bought this mainly for the artwork. Another Persephone classics. I'm absolutely in love with these books. They're gorgeous, and again, look at the inside. So yeah, so that's what I'll be reading, as well as maybe The Shooting Party, which has inspired one of my favourite films, Gosford Park. And because I just fell in love with the description, a month in the country about two men, one working on a church to restore it, or an image in the church, one looking for a lost soldier's grave, and they come together and they become friends, I think. I'm really looking forward to reading this as well. So anyway, that's my mini book haul. I've got more of a book haul which I would like to share in another video, because this has already gone on for quite a while. Also, I've got The Wheel Spins, which is the original Lady Vanishes. It's what the film The Lady Vanishes was based on. Now, I absolutely love The Lady Vanishes. It's one of my all-time favourite old films. I love old films. And when I heard the recommendation of this, I thought, I have to get this. And I did. I got it from Waterstones. So, anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. And I'm really sorry if this has gone on for quite a while. Welcome new people. Welcome back old viewers. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like, leave a comment, and hopefully maybe subscribe as well. If you have anything you want to add, or you want to tell me about your favourite spooky season, please do leave that below. Leave a pumpkin emoji, or a Halloweeny type, or even an autumn one, like an autumn leaf or something, or whatever, or just a comment just to say hello. Thank you for sticking with me today. I hope you enjoyed your beverage of whatever it was whilst we were chatting, or I was chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for watching the video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you got to the end as well. If you've got any book recommendations, I'd love to hear them. What are you going to be reading during the autumn season, and what are you going to be watching during the autumn season as well? Have you got plans for Halloween? My little one's going trick-or-treating for the first time, but I'm hoping to sit down with a good spooky film or something, or even a book. I don't know yet. Depends how awake I am. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I want to say thank you. and hopefully I will see you again very soon. It may be next week, it may be the week after, because she's on half term next week. So it won't be next week, it will be the week after. And yeah, so again, thank you for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. So happy Wednesday, happy October, happy autumn, and most importantly, happy reading. See you again very soon. Okay, bye bye everyone.